Before any military aircraft ever sees a drawing board, pilots and engineers must use their knowledge and instincts to look into the future. They must estimate the technological advances that this aircraft will face and then develop the requirements. From these individuals came the objective: to design and build one aircraft to be a single-seat, twin-mission strike fighter for use aboard aircraft carriers or ashore. To have the performance, agility, and weapon systems to perform any mission now and in the future. A multi-mission aircraft in any weather and around the clock and around the world. The aircraft must be versatile enough to land at a semi-prepared remote landing strip with little or no support equipment, or to be serviced on a pitching carrier deck far out at sea, to be a highly reliable and easily maintained aircraft serving the U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, and America's allies into the 21st century. All this capability in one airframe? It used to be called impossible. Today, it's called the FA-18, the Hornet. The Hornet is the result of operating on the leading edges of technology in aerodynamics, electronics, and computers, all wrapped in sheets of the most advanced metals and composite materials known. The Hornet drop test program was an example of the exhaustive testing which assured that what went up could come down safely. These efforts made the Hornet one of the most sophisticated and effective weapons systems in the free world. After more than 3 years of development work, the FA-18 began full-scale development testing, beginning in 1979 at the Naval Air Test Center at Patuxent River, Maryland. Any modern flight test program has one major criteria: get the best possible aircraft at the lowest possible price. The success of any flight test program is measured by the efficiency of the program and its ability to meet schedules. By the end of 1980, 10 full-scale development Hornets and 4 pilot production Hornets were taking part in the test program. Not only were the aircraft systems tested, but the Hornet's ability to be a weapon system itself were put through the paces, with the test pilot coaxing all the available data he could out of the aircraft. The enormous volume of electronic data being absorbed by the test team on the ground is being supplemented by a continual patter from the pilot to try and help the test team experience the flight. Spin testing and in-flight arrestor cable landings were just 2 of the hundreds of flight tests carried out during the program. Advanced aerodynamic research led to the Hornet's wing design. This design has leading-edge extensions which greatly improve the high angle of attack characteristics of the aircraft and the performance of its engines. In early 1982, the FA-18 made its first fully automated hands-off landing at the Naval Air Test Center. The test was performed to demonstrate the Hornet's suitability for carrier operations, including the FA-18's compatibility with the fleet's automatic carrier landing system. This system and the approach power compensator aboard the Hornet are in full command of the aircraft's flight controls and throttles during approach and landing. At a pre-designated point, several miles from the landing threshold, the Hornet pilot couples his radar to the radar on board the carrier. The radar transmits a signal to guide the aircraft onto the carrier's pitching deck. McDonnell Douglas Corporation was initially the prime contractor, and Northrop was the major airframe contractor of the initial Hornets. Supporting that group are hundreds of subcontractors across the United States and abroad, manufacturing an aircraft that is, by weight, 55% aluminum, 14% steel, and about 10% is graphic composites and just over 8% titanium. The General Electric 404 low-bypass engine was designed especially for the Hornet and is truly an outstanding performer. The GE 404 is in the same thrust class as the renowned J79 engine which powered the F4 Phantom, and yet the 404 is smaller, more compact, and weighs half as much. The Hornet's twin engines generate 32,000 pounds of thrust in afterburner, a thrust greater than its own total fighting weight, giving the aircraft the ability to accelerate while climbing straight up. These engines are efficient, lightweight, and simple, reflecting the Hornet emphasis on increased performance and simpler design. And two 404 engines consume only 10 to 15% more fuel than other single-engine aircraft the Hornet replaced. The Hornet is an airborne arsenal. It can carry 18,000 pounds of weapons in the attack mission. Hornet designers insisted on an airplane able to win the beyond visual range engagement using its radar and radar-guided missiles. An airplane equally capable in the close-range dogfights with Sidewinder missiles and cannon, and an aircraft able to win at very high speed or very low speed. Even in bad weather, multiple targets that are beyond the pilot's visual range can be attacked and destroyed simultaneously. Rounding off the Hornet's weapon system is an internal 20mm Vulcan cannon, firing at a rate of up to 6,000 rounds per minute. The Hornet was designed from the beginning to fulfill dual missions. It was designed as a superior air-to-air fighter and deadly air-to-surface attack aircraft. It now not only fulfills both missions extremely well, but it excels at them. The reason for this is the heart of the Hornet, the major factor that makes it so unique and versatile, its futuristic cockpit. Human engineering specialists have designed a multi-mission crew station right out of Star Wars. The pilot is at the center of a computer-driven information center. Gone are most of the dials, knobs, and toggle switches of yesterday's aircraft. These have been replaced by two computers connected to three cathode ray tubes. Due to limited space, the cockpit has been arranged to minimize the amount of action required to manage this entire weapon system. All of the pilot's tasks have been divided into three main areas. First, control and monitoring of all aircraft systems. Secondly, the management of communications, navigation, and identification systems. And thirdly, the radar sensors and weapons. Each of these is centralized on one display in front of the pilot's eyes. Surrounding the CRTs are 20 push-button optional mode controls which can call up and display any required data. It is well known that the requirements for an air-to-air radar are definitely different than those for an air-to-surface radar. One of the major reasons why the Hornet is so versatile is the all-digital, multi-mission radar designed and built by Hughes Aircraft. It is a marvel in its own right, with unparalleled flexibility in a wide range of operating modes. The radar's high-speed signal processor can sort through data at lightning speed, giving a clearer radar picture. Let's look at this radar in the air combat scenario. In the long-range velocity search function, the radar scans the sky ahead of the Hornet, concentrating on contacts that are approaching and providing data on the direction of the threat and its closure speed. RAID assessment is also available to determine the number of any attacking aircraft. This information provides an advantage to the Hornet pilot prior to entering the dogfight. The track while scan format allows the radar to assess up to 10 targets at the same time. It also notifies the Hornet pilot which target presents the greatest threat to his aircraft. The pilot can then lock on to any single target for his missile launch. The steady shoot cue is displayed while inside the maximum range of your selected missile, and a flashing shoot cue is displayed when the highest percentage chance of a kill is possible. A radar warning system will alert the pilot if he is being tracked by another radar, and flare and chaff dispensers can be used to counter ground-to-air or air-to-air threats. During intense air combat maneuvering, the pilot must be able to keep his target in sight without taking his hands off the stick and throttles. Engineers have recognized this need by locating all time-critical controls for the air-to-air and air-to-surface attack on the control stick and the throttle. Capping the versatility of the cockpit is a heads-up display, which is the primary status display. Positioned in the pilot's forward field of view is displayed such information as airspeed, attitude, angle of attack, altitude, heading, Mach number, G-loading, and destination heading. This information is also used for the delivery of weapons, while onboard computers take into consideration delivery mode, aircraft dive angle, airspeed, and a multitude of other factors to produce pinpoint accuracy. The accuracy of the Hornet weapon system provides a high probability of a first-pass target kill, and combined with the Hornet's high speed and rapid acceleration, it will mean a minimum amount of time spent in the target area. In keeping with its advanced design, the Hornet has a fly-by-wire system. What this means simply is that all flight control surfaces are controlled by digital signals from the onboard computers. The surfaces are no longer dependent on rods, wires, and pulleys to move. As the pilot moves his stick, sensors feel this motion and convert it to electrical signals, which position the appropriate actuators and their respective control surfaces. Operational capabilities of all fighter aircraft are dictated by the amount of fuel which can be carried on board. Fuel is carried in 4 interconnected fuselage tanks and 2 internal wing tanks. Fuel can also be carried in 300-gallon external tanks on wing pylons or on the center line of the fuselage. The ferry range of the Hornet is approximately 1,600 nautical miles. The Hornet is also equipped with an in-flight refueling system capable of receiving fuel from most airborne tankers. With the ability to carry over 16,000 pounds of fuel, the Hornet has a fighter escort range exceeding 400 nautical miles, plus time for air combat maneuvering, and its air-to-surface radius is better than 500 nautical miles. After a mission, back at the base, the ground crew can go to one spot and examine one panel and get a detailed indication of what has failed and where. This panel, called the Maintenance Monitor Panel, also indicates whether or not any of the onboard consumables will need servicing. Problems can be quickly located, isolated, and the offending components replaced when necessary. The Hornet was designed to spend minimum time on the ground and maximum time in the air where it does its work. The excellence of Hornet performance, rapid acceleration, high speed, turn rate, and climb make the Hornet a peacekeeping tool of awesome proportions. The Hornet anticipates the development of new, perhaps superior weapon systems and provides for their employment. The Hornet is truly an impressive fighting machine. It can fly at nearly twice the speed of sound and can reach up to 10 miles into the sky. It can endure stresses nearly 7 times the force of gravity, and yet it can fly at speeds so slow that most other fighter aircraft would stall. For survivability, the aircraft has multi-backup systems in its flight controls and avionics, and along with 2 engines, permits mission completion and get-home capability. Prior to operational deployment to the U.S. Navy evaluation squadrons, VX-4 and VX-5 completed an extensive evaluation of the Hornet's capabilities in the fighter and attack roles. During the evaluation period, the squadrons flew the Hornet for more than 1,600 flying hours. This program was conducted at many of the U.S. Navy's test facilities throughout the country. In a 2-week deployment to Naval Air Station Fallon, Nevada, 11 Hornet aircraft flew 130 missions in 280 flight hours. An important part of the FA-18 evaluation, just as important as its fighter attack capabilities, is its compatibility within the aircraft carrier environment and its reliability at sea. In August of 1982, sea trials for the Hornet were conducted aboard the USS Kennedy as it operated off the Virginia coast. During September of that year, VX-4 and VX-5 also flew off the USS Constellation during those squadrons' operational evaluation. They were joined by representatives from VFA-125 who flew from their home base in Lemoore, California, to the carrier operating off the California coast. Along with launch and recovery capabilities, sea trials were needed to determine the Hornet's deck handling characteristics, as well as the aircraft's reliability and availability. Deck crew handling was demonstrated through a series of tests such as aircraft tie-down at various spots on the flight deck and operations on the elevator with other aircraft. Through the sea trials, the Hornet demonstrated 100% aircraft availability, allowing the testing to be carried out uninterrupted. This evaluation concluded the longest aircraft assessment in U.S. naval history. VFA-113 went aboard to become the U.S. Navy's first operational Hornet squadron in 1983. Some 40 squadrons became operational for the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps from the 1,377 aircraft initially ordered from McDonnell Douglas. The first Hornet squadron, VFA-125, the Rough Riders, was officially formed on the 13th of November 1980 at the Naval Air Station Lemoore, California. The mission of VFA-125 as a replacement training squadron is to train new Hornet pilots and maintenance personnel for the fleet squadrons. Initially, however, VFA-125 was tasked with the training of the first Hornet instructor pilots and support personnel. Inside a 40-foot dome resembling a planetarium, the Air Combat Maneuvering Visual System allows realistic, cost-effective air-to-air and air-to-ground combat training for Hornet pilots. Air combat maneuvering is the pinnacle of flying performance. It combines every basic flying skill at the level of maximum performance where indecision or error can mean death. The imagination and concentration that allows a fighter pilot to maneuver confidently in the three-dimensional arena are a product of hard work and attention to detail. Inside a cockpit that duplicates a Hornet's own sophisticated controls and electronic displays, the student experiences all the sights, sounds, and other sensations of combat. The heart of the simulator is a high-speed computer which controls several projectors that throw fast-moving images of Earth, sky, planes, and even incoming missiles onto a screen. Although the pilot is stationary, he has the illusion that he is flying. To complete the illusion, as he manipulates controls to bank, the computer tilts the horizon. When the pilot closes in on his target, the image automatically enlarges and the pressure on his G-suit increases. Using the simulator, a pilot can complete 30 air-to-air or air-to-ground mock attacks in an hour instead of the 3 possible in a real jet. The training syllabus for Hornet pilots will include 200 hours of academic training and 85 hours of familiarization with the FA-18 and its systems. Included in these 85 hours are 63 hours devoted to air-to-air and air-to-ground training. This makes the Hornet pilots dual qualified. Qualifying to fly off aircraft carriers will require an additional 22 hours. One of the innovations in the training program is computer-assisted ground school. Students will learn much of their background in technical material in computer terminals. Hands-on throttle and stick, or HOTAS trainers as they are referred to, permit ground instruction of cockpit displays in switchology and reduces expensive air training time. Foreign sales, an important consideration in any new aircraft development program, is an important element in the ongoing Hornet program. Canada became the first foreign country to purchase the FA-18. The Canadian government began a new fighter aircraft competition in 1975 with 5 aircraft companies submitting proposals. And after an extensive elimination, the CF-16 and the CF-18 were selected as the final contenders. Following a period of intense review and contract negotiation, on April 10, 1980, the CF-18 was selected to be the Canadian Forces' new fighter aircraft. This decision, worth an estimated $4 billion Canadian dollars, called for the delivery of the first of 138 Hornets in late 1982. Delivery of the remaining CF-18s continued through late 1988. One interesting aspect of the CF-18 is the distinctive false cockpit painted on the underside of the fuselage. This is intended to confuse dogfight opponents as to the CF-18's true orientation during air combat. There are only 2 principal differences between the basic FA-18 and the CF-18 for Canada. The Canadian Hornet will use different avionics for its instrument landing system in place of the system used by the U.S. Navy for operations aboard aircraft carriers. Also, as you can see, the CF-18s have a spotlight mounted on the left side of the fuselage for night identification of intercepted aircraft. The 2-seat version of the Hornet you see here was under consideration from the beginning. It has the same overall dimensions as the single-seat Hornet. Installing the second seat and a full second cockpit required reducing the internal fuel capacity in the Hornet by about 6%. It is also designed to be fully combat capable, allowing the FA-18B, as it is designated, to be switched from training duties to combat strike or fighter missions with the same efficiency as the single-seat Hornet. The CF-18 was procured to perform essential military missions for the defense of North America and NATO. Aircraft based in Canada are to provide air defense of North America and its adjacent maritime zones. And working in conjunction with an intensive radar surveillance network, CF-18s will intercept unidentified aircraft and intruders and ensure Canadian national sovereignty. Today, the air arms of 7 other foreign countries fly the Hornet as their first line of defense.
Very capable in both the air-to-air and the ground attack role. As you know, we've got a large country, and we're looking for an aircraft that we can deploy to airfields with little support facilities and generally under very primitive conditions. And I think for those reasons, this aircraft will serve us very well.
On the first daylight raid, a flight of 4 carrier-based FA-18Cs from the aircraft carrier Saratoga were approaching their target, an airfield codenamed H-3 in western Iraq, when one of the Saratoga's E-2C Hawkeye radar aircraft spotted 2 bandits 15 miles ahead. They were loaded down with 2,000-pound bombs, but unlike previous Navy aircraft, Hornets were designed to go from the ground attack role to the dogfight role with just a flick of the switch.
Bandit, 230, 30 miles. New picture, Bandit, 190, 20 Manny.
Take left wing, Mongo, not spread. Outer wing, get out of my way.
Bandit, 240, 14, hot. Hot on the aircraft, 235, 30 from Manny. 3 or 4 to you, Bandit is... Houston 3.
Would it fare as well as the Air Force Strike Eagles that had downed 3 Mirage F-1s and 3 MiG-29s on the first night of the war?
Bandit Manny, 185, 25, southbound.
Then, Lieutenant Commander Mark Fox got a lock on one of the two MiG-21s, and two of the other four pilots did as well. Both groups of aircraft were approaching each other at Mach 1.2 supersonic speeds.
200 radar contact on my nose, Mach at 28,000.
Aircraft in position 17035.
200 bogey on the nose, 28,000, 7 miles. Shape 21. EID. On the clock. Trail section, stand by for BID. Coming down my nose, both side, Mach.
Fox's Hornet fired its Sidewinder heat-seeking missile first. Then, a Sparrow radar-guided missile. There was a fireball.
That's a MiG-21. That's a MiG-21. Yep, that's confirmed. Splash solid!
Then his wingman fired a second missile, and there was a second fireball. Throughout the engagement with the MiGs, the Navy aircraft kept their bombs. And following their two kills, Lieutenant Commander Fox and his wingman rejoined the other two Hornets and continued with their bombing attack. The whole battle had taken less than 40 seconds and is believed to have been the first time that an aircraft has scored an air-to-air kill while carrying bombs. As the four F-18s peeled away from the Iraqi airfield and headed south, they could see two columns of black smoke rising up from the desert where the MiGs had crashed, hitting the ground in the same relative formation as when they were shot down. These two kills were the Navy's only confirmed air-to-air kills of Iraqi fixed-wing aircraft. If ever confirmation was needed, this was it. The Hornet could fight its way to a target, brush aside the opposition, and then bomb with precision. They said it couldn't be done. Combine offense with defense. But the Hornet did it, and did the Navy proud. The F-18 Hornet had shown its sting.
To have an outstanding flying machine like the Hornet helps, but pilot quality is the most important asset, one that can only be obtained by first-class air training. Having an aircraft with the ability to outfly any actual or projected fighter in the world is not enough. The winning pilot must be able to outfight them. To achieve such a task requires the best that both men and machines can deliver, constantly honed to razor-edge sharpness. And there's only one way to get that edge: flying realistic combat training. This combat mission is ground attack. Hornet pilots are to fly to a target area at very low altitude, using speed and terrain to avoid detection. They will find, identify, and attack the target using standoff tactics for their weapons, hit the target, and return to base. They will be intercepted by other fighter aircraft on their way to the target and will be expected to destroy the threat and then continue their mission. To make combat training as realistic as possible, the missions are flown against dissimilar aircraft, aircraft of other Air Force units, as well as carrier-based naval aircraft. In these scenarios, the enemy may be simulated, but the action for the Hornet pilot is real. In all air combat, the variable is always the pilot. How much maneuver potential he extracts from his aircraft will determine his success in this engagement. The trick is to keep his head out of the cockpit, to reduce his reaction time, to fly the aircraft instead of watching over it. His goal must be to spend less time with the machine and more time with the fight outside. Keeping track of his enemy is the key to staying alive. This kind of training builds self-confidence. In the air, it is this quality that convinces a Hornet pilot that he is better than the opposition. While self-confidence is not unique to fighter pilots, it's especially critical to them because in their hands alone is an unforgiving supersonic flying machine which operates near the very edge of man's ability to control. The fighter pilot is engaged in the deadliest game of all, survival. In this, he or she are either very good or they're very dead.
Echo 227, Bandits 240, 19 miles, headed south 7,000. Second Bandits 225, 22 miles, headed south at 4,500.
The first in a series of major upgrades for the Hornet was started in 1986. Even though the upgraded Hornets look no different than their predecessors, these enhanced aircraft are more capable. The upgraded models can employ two of the latest weapons available to the U.S. military: the infrared imaging Maverick air-to-ground missile and the new advanced medium-range air-to-air missile. With the Maverick, the pilot is able to sight his target with infrared imaging. This short-range missile then uses passive infrared seeking guidance to intercept surface targets. The Hornet can carry up to 4 of these smokeless solid-fuel missiles.
Copy that. 26, good.
Other Bandits are RTB.
The advanced medium-range air-to-air missile can go further, faster, and is more accurate than the AIM-7 Sparrow it replaced. The AIM-120 has a launch and leave capability. Launched from the Hornet with inertial guidance, the AMRAAM then pinpoints a target with its internal radar. Even in bad weather, multiple targets that are beyond the pilot's visual range can be attacked and destroyed simultaneously. In October 1989, the FA-18's weapon system was fully integrated for air-to-ground missions at night at limited weather conditions. The night attack equipment includes an advanced scan head-up display, a multi-purpose color display digital map set, and crew station instrumentation compatible with night vision goggles. A thermal imaging navigation set projects real-life infrared images on the Hornet's updated head-up display, which overlay the images with appropriate symbology for navigation or identification. The Hornet night attack capabilities substantially enhance the aircraft's usefulness. Through the technological enhancements, night is turned into day for the Hornet pilot. This system was designed to allow the Hornet attack pilot to navigate and maneuver to and from the target area. This system provides the pilot with the capability to acquire, track, and attack ground targets under the weather day and night down on the deck, where he can take advantage of terrain masking. Now, the combat commander and his pilots have the flexibility to use similar weapons and tactics to those they use in the daytime. This system enables the pilot to deliver conventional weapons with direct attack. He can also deliver infrared Maverick or laser-guided bombs using proven standoff tactics. Following a successful run of more than 400 A and B models, the U.S. Navy began taking fleet deliveries of improved FA-18C single-seat and FA-18D dual-seat models in September 1987. 2 years later, the C and D models came with improved night attack capabilities.
Magic Rambo 3 aircraft, flight level 160, heading west, what you were just talking about.
Rambo, we have possible contact. Contact Magic 264, decimal 4 for control.
2644, yeah. Parameter 2644, 2644, yeah.
227, your Bandits 170, 13, 3 up 3s. Bandits headed west, they're still at 17,000.
FA-18Cs have synthetic aperture ground mapping radar with a Doppler beam sharpening mode to generate ground maps. This ground mapping capability that permits crews to locate and attack targets in adverse weather and poor visibility, or to precisely update the aircraft's location relative to targets during the approach, is a capability that improves bombing accuracy. New production FA-18Cs received the APG radar upgrade starting in 1994, providing more precise and clear radar displays.
Venice 1758, still headed west, 12,000.
The FA-18C and D models ended production in the late 1990s, having been superseded by the FA-18E and the FA-18F Super Hornet. Current plans call for the F-18A and B aircraft to remain in service with the U.S. Navy until about 2015, while F-18C and D models will be retired by 2020. During this mission, the Hornet pilots exerted the same amount of energy as 12 hours of hard manual labor. They have flown the Hornet to the edge of the envelope to show you that for the pilots who now fly this aircraft and those who have to fly it in actual combat, this is an aircraft you can win with. And for a fighter pilot, winning is the bottom line.
The FA-18D is the two-seat version of the FA-18C. Unlike the FA-18B, the D model only has flying controls in the front seat and was intended as a two-seat night attack aircraft rather than as a two-seat trainer. Developed to become a Marine Corps workhorse, this one aircraft will replace 3 current aircraft in the attack, reconnaissance, and fast-forward air control roles. The flight officer seated in the aft cockpit is provided with 2 stationary hand controls, one on each side of the seat, to operate the weapon systems.
12010.
The primary users of the Night Attack Hornet are Marine Corps units which are tasked with all-weather attack. This model of Hornet has also replaced another old Blue Angel aircraft, the A-4 Skyhawk, in the fast jet forward air control role. There's also a reconnaissance version of the FA-18D. By removing the M61 cannon and replacing it with a pallet-mounted electro-optical suite, the Hornet's scanners and sensors can data link images directly to commanders on the ground. Even though the first Night Attack Hornets were delivered in early 1990, they still took part in Operation Desert Storm. Operating out of Bahrain, it was one of these aircraft that first spotted the massive retreat of the Iraqi army from Kuwait City. 3 Hornets, flying as fast-forward air controllers, then coordinated the destruction of the convoy by other coalition aircraft.
Altitude. Altitude.
Your left 930 low. Visual.
Aircraft at 22530 from Manny. Bandit is hot on you.
The FA-18D is configured for the night attack role, with forward-looking infrared and instrumentation, and cockpit arrangements modified for use with night vision goggles, which will allow pilots to fly as low as 100 feet. Operating out of Aviano Air Base in Italy, Marine Corps Hornets continued to prove their mettle as all-round versatile performers during NATO bombing raids against Bosnian Serb positions in the fall of 1995. The Marine Hornets were the only NATO aircraft in theater with cockpits and night vision goggles integrated for night attack and became masters of the night.
The Night Attack Hornet was on the leading edge of the attack on terrorism in Afghanistan in 2001 and Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003.
Under the cover of darkness, Hornets flew right down on the deck, under the weather, out of sight of ground fire, dropping laser-guided bombs with pinpoint accuracy. They were even involved in the Marine Corps rescue of a downed F-16 pilot, Captain Scott O'Grady. 4 Hornets were directly involved in providing cover for the rescue, and 2 more were airborne, ready to help out as Captain O'Grady was brought out of danger. Look at them as they fly over the American West, a picture of precision that brings a feeling of pride and admiration to every American. That, in fact, is their mission: to enhance Navy recruiting and to represent the Navy to the public, government leaders, and America's friends and enemies around the world. It's a huge responsibility on just 16 officers and 110 enlisted personnel who make up the Blue Angel Squadron. That's especially true for number 1, the boss, who both leads the flight and is commanding officer of the squadron. But it's also true for numbers 2 through 7, who must all be carrier qualified with a minimum of 1,500 flight hours. Each officer volunteers for Blue Angels duty. Their efforts are all directed at this: one of the 33 shows performed every year throughout the United States between March and November. In 1996, the Blue Angels brought out more than 6 million spectators, and altogether, the team has thrilled more than 276 million people since 1946. The precision, both on the ground and in the air, is symbolic of the professionalism of the entire U.S. Navy and, in a larger sense, of the United States itself. This is what's affectionately called Fat Albert Airlines. It's the squadron's support aircraft, a C-130 transport flown by an all-Marine Corps crew of 3 pilots and 6 enlisted personnel. The C-130 carries 25,000 pounds of equipment, 46,000 pounds of fuel, and a highly trained support staff. These personnel are involved in maintenance, supply, public affairs, administration, an events coordination officer, and a medical department that looks after the medical needs of both officers and enlisted members.
The Blue Angel crew is 95 strong, 95 enlisted and 16 officers. And they play a large part of what goes on here for every single air show. The Blue Angel is the oldest jet team in the world, and for 43 years, this crew has never let the American public down. We performed each and every air show, never canceling one due to a maintenance problem. So the crew is largely responsible for the success of the Blue Angels.
At a number of show sites, Fat Albert demonstrates a jet-assisted takeoff, or JATO. 8 solid-fuel rockets attached to the sides of the aircraft help Fat Albert take off in less than 1,500 feet, climb at an angle of 45 degrees, and attain an altitude of 1,000 feet in minimum time. The effect of the JATO rockets is even more spectacular at twilight or at night.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Since 1946, the Blue Angels have had the rare privilege of demonstrating to the American public the precision techniques of naval aviation, hoping to inspire our young men and women to pursue careers in the United States Navy and Marine Corps. The maneuvers you will see demonstrated here this afternoon are coordinated tactical techniques developed by Navy and Marine pilots, both in peacetime training and actual combat.
This is the Diamond Formation coming out of its first forward loop. Today's a good day with unlimited visibility, so the team will be able to fly a high show up to 8,000 feet. If the ceiling was 3,500 feet or less, they would fly a low show with some rolling maneuvers. On really poor days, they do a flat show with no vertical or looping maneuvers. What you're seeing now is a double Farvel, in which both the leader and the slot machine are inverted. The maneuver was named in 1962 by its inventor, Ken Wallace, after a dog in a Nestle's chocolate television commercial. The next maneuver involves two pairs of aircraft crossing the viewing area from different directions, and then snapping to the vertical with one aircraft crossing the path of the other. With 32,000 pounds of thrust, an F-18 can climb like a rocket, and that's what's being shown by this solo pilot. The climb comes out to an inverted loop, and then a beautifully controlled series of 90-degree stop rolls.
Everybody that comes here to the Blue Angels comes from fleet activities. Any sailor in the fleet could qualify to become a Blue Angel. We like to see top-notch sailors, of course, and there's an extensive screening process that goes on. But we like to think that the quality sailor we have here at the Blue Angels represents the same quality sailor we've got in the fleet.
An afterburning jet screaming through the sky. The jets may seem just a little cleaner, their salutes a little snappier, and their job just a little more glamorous. But they represent all the men and women of U.S. naval aviation. The most famous formations used by the team are the Echelon Left and Diamond Formation with 4 aircraft, and the Delta Formation with 6. In these positions, the team can do loops and rolls, splitting at altitude into the fleur-de-lis or bomb burst. These maneuvers end with a high-speed multiple crossover at low altitude. Here's the best photo opportunity, the underside and topside of an F-18. And here again is a solo vertical takeoff and climb with a corkscrew roll. Surprisingly, some maneuvers that look hair-raising on the ground are a walk in the park for the pilots who have an entirely different perspective. Others that may look easy on the ground, such as the negative push-out on the inverted pass, are anything but easy to the men in the air. Would a pilot in combat ever do such a stunt? If you engage in dogfighting at high speeds, you have to make bigger turns. The slower your speed, the tighter your turn radius, and the more likely you are to get behind a faster opponent. Actually, of all of the aircraft the Blue Angels have ever flown, the F-18 Hornet is uniquely able to perform the maneuvers you're watching. The reason is not that the Hornet is fast, which it is, but that it's also capable of going slow, which it does. The F-18 has such a tremendous power-to-weight ratio, it's able to defy the usual rules of aerodynamics and rely on pure power alone. The McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornet was developed in the late 1970s as a twin-engine, multi-mission tactical aircraft for the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps. Since it became operational in the early 1980s, over 1,300 Hornets have been delivered worldwide, even to Kuwait after its liberation. The Blue Angels fly the early A model of the aircraft. The Hornet was developed to take advantage of technologies of the future, and therefore the C model became operational in 1987 and gave the Hornet enhanced weapons and a night attack capability. Now, 2 real crowd pleasers. The Mirror Pass with 1 aircraft in normal flight and the other inverted, and the stack roll, in which one aircraft amazingly turns into two. Our show today ends with the planes in the so-called dirty configuration with wheels down. Even with this drag, the Blue Angels can fly in diamond formation or over the top in the line abreast loop. No matter what maneuver gets the most attention, there's always something powerful or wonderful to remember. No one leaves disappointed after watching the Blue Angels perform. Here, in one place, is the rare chance to see what civilians so rarely get a glimpse of: the defenders of our nation in their workplace.
Fuel nozzle, low pressure, thrust, and fuel temperature. Seeing the temperature, 28. It's good.
1-5 for takeoff. Elwood 1-5, cleared for takeoff.
1-5. Let's go. 1-2 burners. Okay, that was the first loop. 2,000 on top, 200 knots is good. And we're gonna get about 150 on top, 3,600 feet, plenty of altitude. Out of burner, show center, and
altitude.
Steam inverted, weight 2,000, and back down. What have we got? 3,000 feet is plenty. And setting up for the 360.
Altitude. Altitude.
For the slow speed pass, a few birds. Won't be a biggie. There's 20 alpha already. And we're getting down, the hook's coming down. Stinger is out. Yep. I'll wait until I'm a bit closer. I'm not moving at all. See what do we get on the ground. 115 on the ground. Wish I had more winds than that.
Would a pilot in combat ever do such a stunt? If you engage in dogfighting at high speeds, you have to make bigger turns. The slower your speed, the tighter your turn radius, and the more likely you are to get behind a faster opponent.
And here's the crowd, 300 feet. Let's keep those burner in. Overleaf. 3,500 pounds of gas. Plenty of juice. All right. There's show center. And there's the Cloverleaf.
Altitude.
Up now.
Altitude.
$2,000 feet is looking good. 3,000 feet is plenty. Back down. And a few roll. Back up. 70 degrees is good enough. Inverted. Pause. 1, 2, 3. Give it 3,000 feet, and there we go. Now, slow roll with inverted pass.
Bingo. Bingo.
The F-18 Hornet is uniquely able to perform the maneuvers you're watching. The reason is not that the Hornet is fast, which it is, but that it's also capable of going slow, which it does. The F-18 has such a tremendous power-to-weight ratio, it's able to defy the usual rules of aerodynamics and rely on pure power alone.
For the crowd. Okay, vertical departure, and there's the crowd, 300 feet. Let's keep those burner in.
With 32,000 pounds of thrust, an F-18 can climb like a rocket, and that's what's being shown by this solo pilot.
And vertical roll. Through 7,000 feet.
The climb comes out to an inverted loop, and then a beautifully controlled series of 90-degree stop rolls.
Bingo. Bingo.
here again is a solo vertical takeoff and climb with a corkscrew roll.
Cloverleaf.
Here's the best photo opportunity, the underside and topside of an F-18. Surprisingly, some maneuvers that look hair-raising on the ground are a walk in the park for the pilots who have an entirely different perspective. Others that may look easy on the ground, such as the negative push-out on the inverted pass, are anything but easy to the men in the air.
Bingo. Bingo.
And that's the last pass for the West 1-5. And 1-5 for full stop.
Hollywood 1-5, cleared to land on 3-3 with gear down.
1-5, 3 green.
Altitude.
Good as it is, the Navy and Secretary of Defense knew the F-18 Hornet could be better. The Hornet needed a greater range, a bigger payload, and the ability to return to a carrier deck with more of its weapons unused. That desire produced upgrade studies, which resulted in this configuration, the F-18E. If it didn't have the name on its flank, it would take a real expert to tell the difference between the F-18C and the F-18E. There is a difference, a big difference. The F-18E can carry 1/3 more internal fuel, which means it can fly 40% farther than the C model. Put that in a combat air patrol scenario at 200 nautical miles from home, and the E model can remain on station 80% longer. The addition of 2 new wing store stations means the F-18E can undertake more complex missions because its maximum external payload has been increased from 13,700 pounds to 17,700 pounds. It can also bring 3 times more external payload weight back to the ship because of the stronger wing structure. In terms of size, The F-18E is 34 inches longer than previous models, and its wings are 25% larger with 100 additional square feet of surface area. All these external changes have been accompanied by internal ones as well. The most important is a beefed-up engine. Powering the upgraded Hornet will be two General Electric F414 engines derived from the highly reliable F404 family in today's F-18s. The F414s will provide 44,000 pounds of combined thrust, enabling the E model to meet or exceed the C model's outstanding aerodynamic performance.
Two versions of the Super Hornet are currently in production, the single-seat E model and the two-seat F model. Both are true multi-role aircraft, able to perform virtually every mission in the tactical spectrum, including air superiority, day and night strike with precision-guided weapons, fighter escort, close air support, suppression of enemy air defense, maritime strike, reconnaissance, forward air control, and tanker. Converting from one mission to another can be done as quickly and as simply as just flipping a switch. The Super Hornet suite of integrated and networked systems provides enhanced interoperability and support for ground forces, as well as the overall force commander. The Super Hornet became operational in June 2001 and deployed aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln in July 2002. In November 2002, the aircraft made its combat debut, striking air defense sites in southern Iraq. The aircraft was also deployed as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom in March 2003. In 2003, the U.S. Navy awarded Boeing a $1 billion contract for system design and development of the EA-18G airborne electronic attack aircraft. The EA-18G will provide the warfighter with abundant operational flexibility. It can carry up to 5 ALQ-99 jamming pods and will typically add 2 AIM-120 self-defense missiles and 2 AGM-88 high-speed anti-radiation missiles. While developing the EA-18G concept and configuration, the Boeing design team maintained as much of the inherent growth capacity in the FA-18F as possible. The EA-18G is due to begin replacing the EA-6B Prowler aircraft by the end of the decade. Upon initial fleet introduction, the EA-18G will be capable of self-protection, freeing up dedicated escort aircraft for strike and other missions. It will be capable of rapidly locating and destroying surface-to-air missiles.
Wire. Blue wire. Future naval aviation arriving.
As part of the U.S. Navy's overall vision of sea power, the Super Hornet's greater firepower, endurance, and its multi-mission capabilities as an all-weather strike fighter are quickly proving that it is much more than just the new kid on the block.
Taken together, the F-18E provides greater range and endurance, carries a heavier payload, has more bring-back capability, and greater growth potential, and at the same time has equal or better performance than its predecessors.
In fact, the Super Hornets are scheduled to begin replacing the F-14 Tomcat as the fleet's defender in 2007. The Hornet represents a superb blending of technology, reliability, and maintainability. The result is an airplane with fantastic operational capabilities, limited only by the minds of the pilots who fly it. It is truly Tomorrow's aircraft for tomorrow's mission today.
Strap yourself into the FA-18 Hornet, the newest strike fighter aircraft now operational with the U.S. Navy, U.S. Marine Corps, and NATO's allies. From treetop level to over 50,000 feet, you'll see the capabilities of this remarkable machine. It's been nicknamed the world's first Star Wars fighter. You're in the cockpit during flight testing, aircraft carrier qualifications, air combat, weapons delivery, and mid-air refueling. Breathtaking formation flying takes you down in the weeds at the speed of heat. Experience this incredible machine as Hornet handlers hone their skills against Eagles, Falcons, and Tomcats. An air demonstration filmed from the cockpit proves why the Hornet was chosen by the U.S. Navy's Blue Angels as their new air demonstration aircraft.
For almost 25 years, the FA-18 Hornet has been the backbone of the United States Navy and United States Marine Corps fighter attack capability. The twin-engine carrier-based supersonic Hornet was designed to meet the requirements for an all-weather fighter and attack aircraft. From the skies over Iraq in Operation Desert Storm to the war on terrorism, Hornet pilots have proven that they are always ready, anytime, anywhere.